Call to order. Good evening and welcome to your City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 6, 2020, and it's 7 p.m. In an effort to minimize the spread of COVID-19, Governor Newsom issued an executive order that temporarily suspended requirement of the Brown Act. Given this executive order, the Laguna Niguel City Council chambers are closed to the public until further notice. Members of the public are strongly encouraged to observe the City Council meetings live online via YouTube live streaming that can be accessed by city website. Members of the public may submit comments on any agenda item or any item not on the agenda by email to the city clerk at egomez@cityoflagunaNiguel.org. All comments received prior to discussion of the agenda item will be read into the record up to the time limit of 3 minutes. Any portion of the comment not read out loud due to the time restrictions will still be included in the written record. The City of Laguna Niguel thanks you in advance for taking all precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Madam Clerk, please roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Rains? Councilmember Jennings?
Here.
Councilmember Genoway?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Minigar?
Present.
And Mayor Davies?
Present.
Thank you. We have
Thank
a quorum.
All right, at this time, I would like to have Councilmember Genoway provide the invocation. We'll follow it with Councilmember Jennings with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Lord, as we meet here this evening to take care of the needs of our city, please help our nation and our world address the challenges of today. Loving God, we ask a special blessing on all essential workers who protect our community and who care for the sick. We pray that you will help them to know how important their work is, to ease their burdens, and have them feel the gratitude of those they serve. Inspire nurses, doctors, healthcare workers, law enforcement officers, firefighters, EMTs, and everyone who helps to keep our community safe and healthy, and help them remember to care for themselves as they care for others. Please guide the hands and hearts of all these professionals so they will remember they are doing God's work. We pray for these women and men of courage, creativity, and compassion, and ask that you hold them with your loving grace and protection. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, council members. All right, next item is public communications. Please be aware that the time limit will be 3 minutes for each public comment. City Clerk Gomez, do you have any public comments to read into the record?
Yes, Mayor. I do have 2 for general public comment. The first one is from Michelle Schumacher. The TCA toll roads is a redundant, bloated, wasteful government agency. The insider contracts have to stop. We appreciate the vote against awarding a TCA contract to HNTB, the very same firm the former TCA CEO switched to be a vice president of just a few months ago. The TCA's use of political consultants and funneling money to nonprofits involved in elections needs to stop. This is not an acceptable way to use taxpayers' money. I would suggest the City of Laguna Niguel exits the JPA agreement with the TCA. It is our hope that the district attorney look into the grand jury's report on the TCA. The TCA is a single-purpose agency that was to build the toll road system, now complete, and pay down the bonds and go away in 30 years. They have failed on every front, and we will pay for those roads over 5 times by the time the bonds are ever paid down. It is our hope that the TCA stop funding SCAG. These regional groups are a hotbed of special interests, such as high-density housing, as witnessed by the RENA mandates of SCAG. Clearly, the TCA loves high density since they collect development fees. The development fees were supposed to be used to pay down the bonds, but instead go to their army of lobbyists. The TCA should not be sending SCAG money. That should go to pay down the bonds. It seems that the law firm Nossaman is collecting a lion's share of the TCA funds. In July, they were awarded a $4.9 million contract, then a $600,000 addition, and now the TCA is asking for another $250,000 for the firm. Crazy and needs to stop. Taxpayers deserve better. Has Mr. Minigar even read the JPA agreement? Mr. Minigar does not seem to be showing up for TCA committee meetings anymore, as he is focusing on SCAG or other activities. The second comment is from Mark Lorendi. The pool operating hours and daily swim lane availability at the Laguna Niguel Community Pool on Crown Valley is inadequate to meet demand. The hours are limited in both the number of lanes available and the times allotted to actually swim. The reservation system locks out the bulk of swimmers wishing to make lane reservations and keeps many swimmers from developing a regular swim schedule as it fills up within hours of being available on Friday mornings. I suggest the City Council review the swim hours and operation times available at the San Clemente pools, both the Hermosa Aquatic Center and the Ole Hansen Beach Club, to see how they are successfully operating and accommodating swimmers. They offer swim times of up to 90 minutes and operate from early morning to late evening most of the week. Part of keeping healthy during the ongoing COVID crisis is to regularly exercise. Swimming offers one of the best forms of physical fitness and respiratory health to remain healthy and vital going into the winter months. I urge the board to review and make changes to the community pool schedule and expand both hours of operation and swim times. And that email was responded to by our city manager earlier today, and she was able to provide him with the information he needed.
Thank you.
And he did respond to say he was satisfied.
Great. Is that it for public communications?
Yes, it is. The next ones are for the consent calendar when you're ready.
All right, we're going to close public communications at this time. We'll now move to the consent calendar, items 1 through 12. I do know that we do have comments on item 10, so I'm going to pull that right now. But council members, do we have any comments or questions that we want to pull in the items 1 through 12?
Just going to pull item number 5 just for a quick comment.
I'll pull 1 and for a comment and 8 for questions.
1 and 8?
Mhm.
Okay, great. Do you have a motion to?
I make the motion.
And we're
Second.
also going to hold off 10. So we're holding off 1, 8, 5, and 10. We got a motion? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carried.
Mayor, I'm sorry, can you repeat the second? I saw the first was by Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, we'll go.
Yeah, for motion and second.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go with Councilmember Raines with item 1, please.
The reason I pulled this item is on page 1 of 14, there's a check register number for Aloha Electric Sign Company. And I was hoping that Public Works Director Scott could talk a little bit about the wayfinding signage. I was at the park a few weeks ago and she had shared a little bit about this, and this represents part of our strategic plan for community and communications. It's a wonderful new tool that we've implemented in our park for residents and visitors to be able to use. So if you could just a little bit talk about how the signage works, I would appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Raines. Public Works Department oversaw the installation of wayfinding signage in Crown Valley Park. That was part of the project to install the new community building. It is a large park with many features, including soccer fields and the botanical preserve, the playground, different restroom facilities, and the YMCA building as well. And so the wayfinding signage is intended to get users where they are interested in enjoying the park amenities. So there's a number of directory signs at key parking locations, as well as some directional signs as you travel throughout the trail system in the park as well.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to bring that to the attention of our residents, that we are investing in your city so that you can enjoy the amenities that we have here. And with that, I'll move the rest of the calendar.
And second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, motion moved. Let's move to item number 5, Councilmember Jennings.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. I just pulled this for a comment. One, I want to say thank you to staff for putting this together. Mayor Pro Tem Minigar and I had a great meeting with them to go through quite a few requests. We had a total of 87,000 requests for, we had received a total of 87,000 requests and had about $60,000 to give away, if I'm remembering it correctly. I just wanted to note there were a few that we normally would have given some money to, but COVID caused some prioritization, like the Meet the Masters programs in some of our elementary schools has long been something that we've wanted to contribute to, and I suggest probably will again in the future. But they're not able to do that this year, and they were going to just ask for the funds and hold them. And so rather than doing that, we certainly invite them to come back and do that again. And we allocated the funds elsewhere. So we were able actually to give a little bit more to some of the ones that we'd had to cut back in years past. And so I think this is one of those great opportunities where we can do some good. And I want to say thank you to my colleague, Mayor Pro Tem Minigar, as well, for his work on that committee. So that's all I had. With that, I'd move the item.
I just want to make a quick comment. You guys did a great job in this. Obviously, with COVID, with our teens right now, it's been depression has been up with our teens. Opioid addiction and overdose was increased by 18%. Suicide rate has been increased. So I was really happy to see that we went with a wellness prevention center, therapist counseling for students in Laguna Niguel area. I think it's going to be needed more than ever, as well as we were able to go back with the Aliso Niguel High School and put funds into volunteering student drug testing program when they go back. So
That's right.
thank you very much. It's well needed.
You bet. Thanks for the
And I
council
think I had a
support.
motion.
Yeah, I move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion moved. All right, Councilmember Rains, items 8.
So on this item, this is a reduction in our vehicle, the equipment, the vehicles that we lease as a city from 24 to 17. And I just had a few questions about it because I wanted to make sure that I understand that as our fiscal sustainability is the most important thing that we've been focusing on right now. But I wanted to make sure that with the reduction in vehicles, that we would still have the appropriate amount of vehicles to continue to meet the service needs of our city with the vehicles that are left. So that was the first question. And secondly, wanted to know if mileage was considered when the reduction in the vehicles were decided upon, and how you came to that decision. So if you could answer that for me.
So when COVID hit, forced us to look at everything very quickly. And with the reduction in employees, you start looking at all the things those employees have, and vehicles is one of those. So we took a look at our fleet. There's a whole analysis that we go through in terms of usage and mileage and things like that. And when we completed that analysis, we realized that we had too many vehicles in our fleet. We didn't need all those vehicles, and we could save about 30% on the contract if we renegotiated it. We were able to get new vehicles and save 30% in our budget and reduce the number we had total because we have fewer employees. So we are comfortable with this number. It's going to enable us to provide the services to the community at a reduced cost.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you looking into every way that we can save our taxpayers' money as well as continuing to meet their needs. So with that, I'll move the item.
I just had one comment on too, Mayor.
Please.
I love this program. It is a great idea. It's one of those ways that you find save money, because back in the day, before we were leasing these vehicles, we were actually acquiring them, handling all the maintenance on them, and now we lease them for a substantially reduced price. We end up with a newer, more fresh fleet year over year, and I don't know how many tens of thousands or more that we've saved in just a short few years that we've been doing this. But it is a fantastic idea, which I fully intend to rip off anytime I can, because it's a really, really good idea. So I highly encourage other entities to do it. I'd second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion moves. That brings us to item 10. And item 10 is opposition to Proposition 16, allows diversity as a factor in public employment, education, and contracting decisions. And Madam Clerk, I do believe that we have some public comment.
Yes, Mayor. The first comment is from YJ Wang. My name is Wei. I am a concerned resident. On November 3rd, 2020, voters are being presented with a proposition that goes against our city. That is Proposition 16. Proposition 16 eliminates language in the California Constitution, Prop 209, that says government cannot discriminate based on race or gender. With Prop 209, Californians are seeing diversities prevailing year over year involving many different aspects. As long as one works hard, one will get lots of opportunities here, which is the reason why California leads and prospers not only in the U.S., but in the world. I am proud to be a Californian. With Prop 16, it will lead California to a totally opposite direction, a wrong direction. We don't want to go back to the historical dark age of inequality and injustice. Because of its conflict with the bedstone of the Constitution, it will generate tons of turmoil and confusion with many other acts. Prop 16 encourages government on race preferential, therefore will inevitably incur more government bureaucracy and corruption and will cost the taxpayers billions of dollars to clean up the foreseeable mess it creates. The country is a great land of opportunity for everyone. The people have said no to SCA 5 in 2014, and we need to say no again this November to stop this racist proposition becoming law. The second one is by Bethany Hernandez. My name is Bethany Hernandez. I'm writing this to express my strong opposition to Prop 16. Proposition 16 uses race to judge the qualifications of applicants to universities, to jobs, etc. This is the textbook's definition of racism, pure and simple. If it is passed, how far will we slide down the slippery, dangerous slope? What's next? Set racial quotas for elected positions? Set racial quotas for NBA and NFL, set racial quotas for TV anchors. Please join us to vote no against Proposition 16. Thank you for your attention. This is Sue. I hope to bring to your awareness of Proposition 16 on November's ballot. Prop 16 legalizes systematic discrimination against some racial group of people on college admission, employment, and government contract. Prop 16 was proposed by the State Assemblywoman Shirley Weber, aiming to repeal Prop 209, part of California Constitution, which clearly prohibits the state from discriminating against or granting preferential treatment to any individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin. The Prop 209 is as clear as it is stated. If Prop 16 passes in the November election, it means we, the Californians, allow the state to discriminate against all of us based on our race, gender, or color, and allow special treatment by the state in college admissions, jobs, and contracting. This is totally unconstitutional and against the American value of equal rights. I hope you could spread the message and people know the danger of Prop 16. Please vote no in November. The next one is by Mark Bowman. Please vote no on Proposition 16. Californians overwhelmingly reject Proposition 16. A poll of 1,704 California residents released on September 16th by the Public Policy Institute of California showed voters opposed to Proposition 16 by huge margins. In fact, over 60% of the people oppose Prop 16. Please join us in defending California's unity and equality. Don't amend our Constitution to allow the state government to discriminate between Californians based on race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin. Don't divide us. Vote no on Prop 16. Thank you. And that's all the comments.
Thank you. Any comments?
I had one. It doesn't happen very often, but every now and then I'm proud of California. And Prop 209 was an effort to get that right. It's one of those times where I really think that we set aside the things that divide us and focus on the things that unite us. And the practice of using race and any other really divider amongst humanity, I think, is something that will be cast aside to the annals of history, hopefully, that we don't have to revisit. I'm shocked by the way that this ended up back on the ballot for voters to consider. It seems antithetical to all that I hold dear. And I must confess that I concur completely with all the commenters and all the public comments tonight in opposition to that. So I'm proud that this is, I want to thank the mayor for putting this on our agenda. I think it's the right thing to do. And I certainly has my support. I don't want to take your motion, but I'd be happy to second it when you want.
Thank you. No, I think, hearing the comments from our last council meeting, I mean, I already know that I opposed it, and I've had friends that had called me because it's so confusing the way it's written on the ballot once again. And as you said, it's one of the better things that have happened. So of course someone wants to take that out. So definitely no on 16. It would set us back so far. So yeah, I don't understand why they're trying to bring this back either. So we heard you and we support you. I'd like to make a motion, if I can, to approve opposition to Proposition 16 allows diversity as a factor in public employment, education, and contracting decisions.
It'd be my pleasure to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Moved. Thank you. Well, that moves us to discussion item number 1. Mr. Hendrickson. I assume that's you because you had the clicker.
All right, so thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight, we will be providing an update on the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. The operating and capital budget was adopted by the City Council on June 16th, 2020. The general fund budget includes revenues of $40.89 million, operating expenditures of $40.69 million, and capital expenditures of $4.2 million. Due to the coronavirus pandemic and its drastic impact on the city budget, staff has committed to quarterly budget updates to keep the City Council and the public informed. For this first quarter update, the city focused on three main areas: property tax revenue, sales tax revenue, and CARES Act funding. For property tax revenue, the city budgeted the exact same amount this fiscal year as in the prior fiscal year, an amount of $22.8 million. There we go. Now that fiscal year 1920 is complete, actual receipts of property tax revenue from that year is approximately $23.36 million, an increase of $478,300, or about 2.1% from the original budgeted estimate. By applying the same conservative approach, staff recommends increasing the property tax revenue budget for this fiscal year by $478,300. For sales tax revenue, the city originally budgeted to receive $10.6 million. In early August, HDL, the city's sales tax consultant, provided an update with new tax data from the state. The new sales tax estimate is $11.19 million, which is an increase of $586,708, or about 5.5% from the original projection. The higher projection is mainly due to better than expected results in the building and construction industry, general consumer goods, and the state and county pools. And finally, the city has received 2 allocations of CARES Act funding. The first payment passed through from the county was for $568,000. The second allocation passed through from the state totals $806,000. And the city is spending these CARES Act funds on public safety costs, telework capabilities, disinfection supplies and services, personal protective equipment, and other public health expenses. The city has also submitted 2 applications to FEMA for direct assistance and reimbursement of costs. One application has been approved for $17,000, and the other is still pending approval. So overall, by adopting the resolution tonight, an amendment to the budget will have a net positive impact of $1,065,008. That's the sum of the property tax increase and the sales tax increase. With these new projections, the city is in good position to maintain a balanced operating budget. Albeit welcome news, it should be received with caution. Sales tax revenue can be very volatile, and estimates could change in the future due to the course of the pandemic. As a matter of conservative budgeting, staff is not recommending at this time to spend the increased revenue projections. It's most prudent to let these revenues materialize before any increase in expenditures is suggested. And this concludes my portion of the presentation tonight. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Public Works Director Scott for an update on the city's capital projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hendrickson. Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, the Public Works Department is working on 9 capital improvement projects in various stages of completion. Currently out for bid is the Nagale Road resurfacing Marina Hills to Highlands project that will repave over 1.5 miles of roadway. The bids are scheduled to open next week, and construction is anticipated to start after the holiday break, with construction continuing through the 2021 summer months. The new community building at Crown Valley Park is near completion. Last-minute touches, including installation of plants, placement of furniture and trash cans, and installation of light pole banners, will be complete this week. The bridge rehabilitation at Yosemite Park is under construction. New landscaping, irrigation, and refurbishment of the bridge have started and are scheduled for completion at the end of this year. Public Works staff has been in communication with a number of interested Lake Park residents and members of the Homeowners Association with updates on the project status. In addition to the projects in construction, there are 4 projects in design. These include the Paseo de Colinas groundwater repair. It is anticipated that the repair project will be ready for bidding at the end of this year, with construction starting in the spring of 2021. Crown Valley westbound widening design is anticipated to be completed by April of 2021. Accessible pedestrian signal push buttons, design and construction will both be completed in 2021. And the Aliso Creek Road traffic signal synchronization, design and construction are being led by the Orange County Transportation Authority, and this project is anticipated to start in 2021. The restroom renovations at Sea Country, the design is complete. That project is ready to re-advertise. It was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and it will be constructed in the spring of 2021. And that concludes my updates on the capital improvement projects. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Start with the council members. Councilmember Jennings.
Great. Thank you very much. I love this. I appreciate it. You almost had me apoplectic, though. You used the word tax and increase in the same sentence. And then I figured out that was good news, because that just means that our sales in the community are going up. So that's good. A couple of things I wanted to note on this. First of all, it's not in here, but I did have a chance to talk with the city manager this week. And I understand that our sheriff's contract is tracking very well for the year, the budget, and we're way under budget at the moment. And I think that's just great management. I want to say thank you to our Chief of Police Services, Matt. Thank you for that. And thank you for everyone that's involved in that. That is extraordinarily good news, which means we're getting great service and saving some money at the same time. One thing that I talked to the city manager about this week, and it's just sort of an ongoing request, I would like to try to find a way to periodically report our expenditures for OCFA, for our fire authority. It doesn't run through our budget. We're not charged that way, but residents are charged. And it would be very interesting to me as a council member and anybody that comes after to try to get a sense of exactly what we're spending there and what that looks like over time and how it's tracking up and down. And I know we have members of the council that are on their board, so maybe we can work with them and get that information back. But I think as a matter of budgeting, it would be, I think we're missing something in our budget if we don't find that piece and at least reflect on it for the benefit of our residents. And I guess my overall takeaway from this report was those who might want to preach doom and gloom about our budget should probably take another look, because I'm extraordinarily proud of our city staff in taking care of budgeting in a time that was simply impossible to do. And we ended up in very good financial position as a result of this, through some great work there. And exactly what you said, Mr. Hendrickson, which is we need to not spend that money. And this is certainly a council, and hopefully all future councils will feel the same way about, we need to sit on that, make sure it grows in the way that we want it to. We've talked about that there are years where we spend money and there are years where we save money. And I think that we are certainly in a period now, and probably will be for some time, where we need to save money and only do the types of capital improvement projects that have just been presented to us tonight. So thank you all around, and that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yep, Councilman Reeds.
Thank you so much for your prudent work on all of these items. I know that the suggestion from staff is to not spend the money, and I'm in favor of not spending the money. I'd like to hear what my colleagues might think about taking a percentage and putting it towards the 115 trust, because that is what we set up this past year to start addressing our pension obligations. And I'd like to maybe consider us adopting a percentage of this to go towards that, but I'd like to hear what the rest of my colleagues might think about that. And as far as Councilmember Jennings' request on the OCFA budget, so just for some clarity, that is paid through property tax to the county. The county then pays that percentage into OCFA. We are considered in Laguna Niguel a donor city, so we actually pay more into OCFA's budgetary overall budgetary accounts than services that we use. However, because we are set up as a structural city and have been that way since the inception of OCFA and our city, that's just the way it goes. So we could have it, I could provide that information for you, Director Hendrickson, I can get that for you. And then if you want to put it on a report so that it's something that the public can have access to, I'm happy to do that. But there wouldn't be any way that we could negotiate or change that at this point. So that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Genoway?
Okay, thank you, Mayor Davies. And thank you both Director Hendrickson and Scott for your reports. It's always good news. Good news to hear that our projects are on schedule, that we'll be providing assets to our residents. And it's always good news to hear that there's more money. So, but I do concur with our finance director's recommendation that we just sit tight on the extra funds that we have. We are less than a week out from the close of our first quarter for the fiscal year. And I think right now would be premature to allocate funds to anything else. I am in agreement that it should go towards our 115 trust. I think that's what the city council said when we established that trust. But right now, at this point, it's premature to allocate anything to that. I think we can look at that, mid-year budget review or after, but we don't know, as we have seen through these months with addressing the COVID-19 challenge, that there are additional expenses and it's still an unknown. We've seen, as a nation, we've seen communities have to take a step back in opening things back up and how they're addressing it. And we've seen our Orange County and our state in California having to take a step back or a pause. And I think there's a few more touch points where we might see some adjustments have to be made. So it's still a bit of an unknown. We have a much better handle on it than we did in March or April. But I am counting on that money to still be there when we are ready to address it. But I think right now might be a little bit premature. But I believe it is the will of this council when we establish that 115 trust to allocate additional funds to it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of observations and a question. The first one, I'm very pleased that our city, specifically city staff, was able to request funding from the state as well as the County of Orange to get 580-some thousand under the CARES Act, as well as 800 and some from the state of California. My question is in reference to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, that you mentioned that it's a partial reimbursement by them for 17,000 or so, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we submitted 2 applications, and what they will reimburse is much more restricted. And even after you give them, here's our list of expenditures, they go through it and they say, we're not going to pay for that. We'll only pay for part of this. And we'll only pay for 3 months of the emergency. So it's much more restrictive and limited in scope and what they will pay for. Whereas the CARES Act money was a direct allocation based on population. And that's much more broad in the scope of what we can use that for.
You send them to the FEMA branch in San Francisco or to Washington, D.C.?
We have contacts and it's all online. So to be honest, I don't know where we're going through, but it's all online. And like I said, we're still pending one more, the second application for approval.
And my question is in reference to the text of the resolution. If you go to the first page of the resolution, which is under attachment A, there's a table there.
Correct.
And I reviewed the table. I'm very happy with all the line items, which is in reference to the property taxes, that everything is positive. That means what has been adjusted is more than what was budgeted, which is a great news. But there are 2 items, 2 specific. The first one is when you go to 100-06-3012 on the property tax supplemental, it's negative.
Correct.
Why is it negative for $72,000?
So for supplemental property tax revenue, this decreases when the home sales prices start to flatten out or decrease. So when the real estate market is on the upswing and people buy new houses, when they get into the house, the first year they have to pay a supplemental property tax bill. So on the flip side, when the housing market flattens or starts to decrease, there's no supplemental property tax bill for new homeowners to pay. So this one line item is really indicative of the real estate market and where home prices are in your city.
Excellent answer. And the second question is, I go to the line item 100-06-3014, property tax HO relief, that we are in red by The 300.
Correct. Yeah. So that homeowner relief, that is a subvention payment from the state due to Prop 13. And that really varies based on different state allocation calculations and the percentage of homeowners in your town versus renters in your town. So even for like your own personal property tax, if you live in the house that you own,
Right.
you have a $7,000 exemption off of the value for it. The state will backfill some of the city's revenue that they lost from that. So that's what that line item is. And again, that's just really variable based on population and percentages.
And one final comment. I'm very happy that you're the new director of finance.
Thank you.
Great. Question for you in regards to the cost reimbursement that we've received from PPE, from the CARES Act. How much are we still out there on our own that we haven't get reimbursed for, that we've used for PPE and COVID items
It's kind of a moving target on that answer.
at this point?
I mean, we've probably, the allocations we got from the CARES Act funding were based on population and allocations from the county and state that just said, here's the money that we're going to give you, and tell us how you spent it. In the report, we have spent, let's find this here. Yeah, we have spent on page 3 of the report, the PPEs, we've spent over $2,000 on that. So that's been fully reimbursed so far. The table at the top of page 3 in your staff report breaks down the categories in which the state classifies, whether we bought temperature screening modules or hand sanitizer or face masks and gloves or these plexiglass shields. That's really the breakdown on how we've spent the money so far.
Okay. And then for Director Scott, I saw that facility cleanliness, the groundwater repair will be in 2021. Is that going to be something we'll be starting in the beginning of 2021? I just know that it's something that we had to put aside for a while, and it's a concern because that's one of our arterial roads for people coming and going onto the 5.
Yes, Mayor Davies, this is a high priority project to the department. The design is 99.9% complete. We'll be bringing it to the council for approval of PSNE and authorization to advertise in November. So it'll be ready for construction early in 2021.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. Any other questions or comments? All right. Do I have a motion to, basically, we're going to move, City Council receives its quarterly budget update, improves resolution.
Receive and file. You
Just
actually don't
receive and
need a
file?
motion unless
Okay,
you're
great.
gonna make a change.
That's it. Alrighty. Thank you. Great job, by the way. As Mayor Pro Tem said, that was an excellent answer.
I'm sorry. There does
is-
need to make a motion and a second though, just to,
There is a resolution.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
sorry, it's okay.
Yeah, so it would be a motion to receive the quarterly budget update and approve the resolution number 2020-1341, amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 operating and capital improvement program CIP budget.
So
I'll
moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Moved. Thank you. All right, that brings us to council comments. And we'll start with, let's see, how about, we're going to mix it up a little bit. How about Mayor Pro Tem?
Here we go.
Yes. And I'm expecting
All
an
right, I
excellent
attended the Audit
comment.
Committee of Southern California Association of Governments to ratify the fiscal year 2019-2020 of the financial auditors. Attended the joint financial and investment meeting of San Joaquin Hills, and the news is that the traffic revenue for Foothill Eastern is at 76% of pre-COVID traffic, and the traffic revenues for San Joaquin Hills is at 63% of pre-COVID traffic. So it is improving as we move on since March 15, 2020, when the revenues went down drastically, almost by 70%. Now the numbers are very promising. Also, with regard to the RHNA, which is Regional Housing Needs Assessment, I wanted to discuss that with the staff and the city manager later, that the appeals timeline is, it started on September 11th and it's going to end October 26th. At this juncture, this city is in a very good shape because we're doing great with our RHNA allocations. But in case that we wanted to appeal, which would be unlikely, then that's the deadline for us. And also, in reference to the potential litigations for the numbers that was presented by Governor Newsom and the Housing Department in the state of California. Council member Peggy Huang from the city of Yorba Linda, who spearheads the subcommittee at SCAG, she introduced a new proposal to the regional board that we are going to be disputing the 1.34 million housing units that was mandated by the state of California versus some kind of independent study that is allocating only 820,000 units to the state. So there's a big discrepancy between what the governor has imposed upon 484 cities in California versus what that independent study is illustrating. And it goes back to what McKinsey consulting firm, which is based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, came up with some kind of overestimation of the needs for a lot of cities in California. And unfortunately, a lot of cities in Orange County are getting hurt. Typically, those cities in the suburban areas are getting hit the most because of the required allocations, and it's going to create all kinds of different financial issues for all these cities within the next cycle, which happens to be 6 years. So that remains to be seen on the next RC board, that which way we are going to go into. And then last but not least, I attended the Laguna Niguel Chamber of Commerce along with council members Elaine Genoway and John Mark Jennings in reference to hearing the latest and the greatest with regard to the definitions of all these ballot initiatives, that they are extremely confusing. Average person, average citizen thinks that they have to vote yes, but in reality, they have to vote no. So I guess the vagueness of all these ballots are extremely crucial, and I'm hoping that every voter would ask the experts how to vote on all these ballots, because again, we discussed, the big one just this afternoon about the one that was put on the agenda by the mayor that is very confusing. So with that, I conclude my reports. Thank you.
All right, we'll stay on the same side. Councilmember Janaway.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Davies. Well, on September 23rd, both Councilman Jennings and I interviewed the applicants for the city's youth committee. The youth committee are 15 high school students who are advocates for the teens in our community to the city council, and they also plan activities for teens. So we interviewed them, and then the new youth committee had its first meeting on October 1st, and it's always so invigorating and energizing to work with these high school students. And I'll tell you, the future of our community is in good hands, because we have a lot of future leaders on that committee. So I wish them the best. I know they will do well throughout this year. They already have some great ideas and things that they would like to bring to their peers. This Friday, is the Orange County Senior Citizens Advisory Council meeting, and you can all attend it from the comfort of your home because it'll be a Zoom meeting at 9:30, and we have the guest speaker at the beginning of the meeting, so you can come hear the program. This time it will be an elder care attorney talking about senior financial and legal planning, not on investments, but more on the legal documents that seniors and older adults need as they approach that phase of life for both them and their adult children. So it'll be very interesting at 9:30. And you, as I said, you can attend from the comfort of your home. Next Tuesday will be the second Laguna Niguel Junior Civic Workshop for our middle school students. And the guest speakers will be from the Orange County Registrar of Voters and also our city clerk, Eileen Gomez. And we'll be talking to the middle school students about why they're seeing all those campaign signs around town and about the election process. There's 2 programs for veterans that I'd like to bring our community's attention to, because I know Laguna Niguel is blessed to have many veterans living here. And there's 2 county programs that are somewhat new that you may not be aware of. One is last month, the county hired a preferential hiring, or they passed a preferential hiring policy for veterans. And so that is something, if you are a veteran in our community and are interested in looking at positions within the county, that is something that you would want to look at and maybe contact Supervisor Bartlett's office about. Also, there's another program called the Nutrition Gap Program, and that is funding that was provided by the federal government to the county, and each supervisor is determining how it's going to be distributed in their district. So in the 5th district, it will be distributed to senior citizens who do not qualify for any other food programs but are facing food insecurity, and veterans. And veterans can be any age. So if you are a veteran who is facing a challenge during COVID in getting the food that you and your family need, or if you are a senior, please contact Supervisor Bartlett's office about the Nutrition Gap program, or you can call 211 and get information at the county. But those are 2 new programs that it's important for our residents to know about. With that, thank you, Mayor Davies.
Okay, Councilmember Raines.
Thank you so much. This week is the Orange County Fire Authority Fire Prevention Week. It's also National Fire Protection Association, which has declared October 4th through the 10th Fire Prevention Week, focusing on serving fire safety up in the kitchen. Did you know that cooking is the leading cause of home fires, fire injuries, and fire deaths in Orange County? There are several things that you can do to protect yourself and your family from these types of injuries. We are in the middle of fire season, so we're all focused on the fires out there, but what the most important thing is what's going on in our own home. So you can join the Orange County Fire Authority Facebook page, and they'll have a daily kind of new tip on how to do that. But I wanted to share some of the most important tips with you today. Unattended cooking is the leading cause, the number one cause of fires. So turning on the stove and walking away, that's the number one thing. Using a timer and checking on your food often can help prevent them. Also, never put water on a grease fire. Always use a lid and be very cautious. Make sure you're wearing a pot, have a pot holder on, and turn off your burner before you do anything else. Keep your area clean before cooking. So make sure that there's no pot holders or towels or anything near your stove while you're cooking. Make sure your stove is empty before turning on, and your oven is empty before turning it on. A lot of times we have the habit of storing things in our oven, and that's not really the best place to store them. But some of us have limited space, so make sure you check before you turn the oven on. And keep your handles to the side or to the back of the stove instead of hanging out so small kids can't run by and knock them over. Keep hot items away from the edge of your counters when you take them out of the oven, and remember to use pot holders and use the 3-foot rule. So always keep 3 feet of distance between everything. So those are just some of my fire prevention tips. It's my honor to serve as your fire board member here for representing Orange County Fire Authority. They do an excellent job of protecting our city. And like I said, you can go to their Facebook page this week and get all these wonderful tips and watch them with their kids. They're really quick little fun videos that the kids will enjoy with Silly Steve. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Or you could do like I do and I just don't cook. I used every one of those and told my husband that's why. All right, Councilmember Jennings.
And I was going to say, if you want to avoid all chances of fire and want to eat out, I have some suggestions for you as well. So. I wanted to give you an update on the most exciting thing that we do on City Council, which is, of course, the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control District. It sort of occupies a second shelf of sorts in our committee assignments, but I wanted to tell you that every now and then it gets real and it gets serious, and it's currently in that condition right now. Our North County friends are being eaten alive by these Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. CBS LA had an episode on it this past week, and even the reporter who was trying to do the news, the piece, and interview one of our people, she was getting literally eaten alive while she was standing there with a microphone in her hand. So it's quite serious. They tend to gravitate towards water, obviously, and And there are 6 cities in Northern County that are really suffering from that. We are fortunately not one of them, but we do have quite a high instance of them compared to the rest of the country anyway. So these are the mosquitoes that will bite you during the day. The regular mosquitoes that we all grew up knowing about are the ones that bite you at dusk and dawn, and a little bit of DEET will go a long way on those. But these ankle biters are black and white striped. They're a little bit larger than the other ones that you see, and they are vicious. And the unfortunate part is that all of those mosquitoes, both of the different types that we tend to have in Orange County, have a much higher instance this year of having West Nile virus. And that is one of the most serious things. If you've ever seen anybody who's gotten it, and we got to meet one at the Becker, and basically it makes you an invalid, and it takes years and years and years, if ever, to just get back some motor skills from that. So it's quite serious, and unfortunately, one mosquito bite can get you. So 2 things I want to tell you about that is wear DEET when you go outside. Doesn't matter if you're just going outside, talk to the neighbors or do some gardening or whatever it is, especially if you live in North County or you're visiting North County. And then secondly, we have had, or over the last really 8 years, the luxury of having a strong presence on the Vector Control Board. There's a lot going on there. It's gotten more and more serious, and I would encourage the new council, because I am, for better or worse, rotating off of that. So the new council will need to really take that up, and whoever gets on it will have some challenges ahead, for both financially and as these instances go up. I wanted to take a moment to, one, I wore pink today because it is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as probably most of you know. As I'm sitting here, my mother-in-law is sitting in Mission Viejo, and she has just spent the last 5 months going through breast cancer treatments with the chemo and the radiation. So I definitely want to dedicate this movement and this month and my comments tonight to her, as well as my sister Joy, who went through the same process last year and is now cancer-free and doing fantastic. So for all of those who that's affected your lives, this is a great month to stand in remembrance of that and do all we can. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Obviously, ballots should be in the mailbox. I don't know, I haven't opened up mine yet, but I think they're there. And as we were talking about the propositions, they're hard to understand. And there's just 2 that I want to touch base on, maybe 3, but 20 is really important. 20 is keeping California safe. And what that does is we had laws, Prop 57 a couple years ago, went ahead and took crimes that weren't listed as violent and victim crimes and move them down to early release and misdemeanors, such as sex trafficking, rape if unconscious, I believe it was kidnapping. So this is really important. This is something that will be able to kind of backtrack, get these people back into where they need to belong, keep our streets safe. So yes on 20. Yes on 22, that is basically it's the drivers, your Uber, your Lyfts, but what it will do is exempt them from AB5, and AB5 was passed last January, and that basically made independent contractors have to be employees. Affected 3 million employees in the state, and with COVID right now, I mean, it's devastating. So for those, if it exempts, that will help a lot, but I also think it will open the door for other employees that maybe don't have quite as much money to stand up for it. So for me, this is just personally, yes on 20, yes on 22. And of course, Prop 15 is basically war on Prop 13. And so that is going to be your split road, where they're taking your commercial and your residential buildings, and they will be taxing them at market value instead of purchase value. And this will affect, again, all of our businesses. The last thing we need to do is raise, and this could raise it by, it could raise, by $10,000 depending on the building. And this will always come down to the consumer, no matter what they say. So please, no on 15, yes on 20, yes on 22. Again, that is just my opinion. Okay, we're going to move on to the city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few updates for you tonight. I'm happy to let you know that today we opened up 68 additional time slots for our lap swim, our very popular lap swim program that starts next Monday. So if anybody's interested in that, I encourage them to visit our website to sign up. We have Halloween activities, fun Halloween activities, COVID safe every day this month. And I want to highlight a couple of them for you. Reservations for our Snap and Treat event taking place on Friday, October 16th and Saturday, October 17th, filled up within 2 hours of opening those reservations. So the Parks and Recreation Department are going to open up an additional 60 slots. And that will be online starting on Thursday. So anyone interested, please check out our website to sign up for that. And our ever popular Haunted Trails event is back. COVID safe, of course. It will be on October 23rd through Sunday, October 25th. Reservations went on sale on Monday and 75% of the slots sold out already. So the staff is monitoring the sales and will open up additional slots if needed. So that's great news. And Laguna Niguel has been chosen as one of 4 Sheriff's Department territories to host our DEA prescription drug take back event on October 24th. And details will be coming soon on our social media and our platforms and our website. So that concludes my report.
Real quick question. Where are the voting centers in Laguna Niguel? Do we know?
City Clerk Gomez, would you like to share that with everyone?
I'm so sorry. What was the
The
question?
voting
again?
centers where people, if they want to drop off?
So our voting center, one will be here at the community center, and the other one will be at Sea Country. And we also have 3 ballot box locations. One is at Fire Station 49 on Golden Lantern. The other one is here at the public library, right across from our parking lot. And the other one is at the Metrolink station, the Laguna Niguel Metrolink station.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, I appreciate everyone's time. We wish you a good week. And with that, we'll adjourn at 7:55.